It's no secret that making it in Hollywood is one hell of a tough racket, and then there's the tricky matter of staying relevant and continuing to win juicy roles even once you're a known quantity. As such, it's incredibly common for actors' careers to ebb and flow over time, to venture from major success in hugely acclaimed box office hits, to starring in stuff you'll find in a bargain bin with titles like Righteous Justice and Born to Gun. But with all that said, it's always satisfying to see an actor return from the doldrums and remind us of exactly why they became so popular in the first place. I'm Ewan, you're watching Whatculture, and here are a few actors who just had awesome comebacks. First up, Jack O'Connell. About a decade ago, it well and truly seemed like Jack O'Connell was on the verge of stardom. Acclaimed performances in Starred Up 71 and awards hopeful Unbroken seemingly put him on the path to becoming a household name, not to ignore also the BAFTA Rising Star Award he won in 2014. Yet, in the years that followed, O'Connell's momentum noticeably cooled, likely a result of several promising projects which fell far short of expectations, especially Money Monster and Tulip Fever. O'Connell continued to work, but typically as a lower-key supporting presence, but thankfully that all changed earlier this year with one of the greatest movies of the year. Because of course, O'Connell played Remick, the primary antagonist of Ryan Coogler's new vampire film Sinners, and received rave reviews for his sublimely unsettling performance before following it up with a brief but unforgettable turn at the tail end of 28 years later. And yeah, it's just great to see an actor this talented back in well-received, high-profile movies, and he's set to keep that run going into 2026, as he'll next appear in 28 Years The Bone Temple, Danny Boyle's new Rupert Murdoch drama Inc., and Godzilla x Kong Supernova. I think we know which out of those three is going to be the most high art. Do you also ever find yourself locked in the existential crisis of wanting to watch the 1985 classic Witness starring Harrison Ford and Kelly McGillis, but you don't know where to begin? Because same. Me from the future? You dummy. If you wanted to watch the 1985 classic Witness directed by Peter Weir, all you had to do was sign up to Paramount Plus using the link in the video description. This limited time offer means it's just $2.99 for 2 months. That's $5 off the Essential tier and $10 off Paramount Plus with Showtime, which includes shows like Twin Peaks and Dexter: Original Sin. Witness and Twin Peaks? Sounds like the perfect remedy for those cold winter nights we're having. I'm gonna go sign up right now and ignore this grave violation of the laws of time and space. Sounds like a plan. On the way, Sean Penn. Though there isn't really any doubt about the acting prowess of two-time Oscar winner Sean Penn, it's fair to say that he's fallen off pretty hard over the past decade. Penn's recent career has been defined by swiftly forgotten vehicles like The Gunman, 3 flop directorial efforts in a row, and 2 widely panned novels published in 2018 and 2019, just to throw some extra sodium in the wound. So what a hugely refreshing change of pace it was to see him sink his teeth into one of his best, if not his outright greatest role to date in Paul Thomas Anderson's mesmerizing new film, One Battle After Another. Penn's performance in the blackly comedic action thriller as villain Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw is a monumental feat of acting, one which paradoxically renders Lockjaw as both a terrifying force of nature and also, laughably pathetic. Penn gets the balance just right, and so it won't surprise too many if he ends up scooping a 3rd Oscar for his efforts, in turn reminding everyone of just how brilliant he can be when the right material lands in his lap. Coming up, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan's career trajectory has been an all-too-common one for young actors thrust into the Hollywood A-list. After Freaky Friday and Mean Girls bolstered her stature as one of the most popular young performers of her generation, she fell off for numerous reasons. For one, there was an unsuccessful attempt to transition into more serious dramatic roles in films like Bobby, Chapter 27, and I Know Who Killed Me, which, combined with Lohan's well-publicized personal issues, which were exploited by the tabloid press, ensured that her early promise had largely evaporated by the 2010s. After spending roughly a decade out in the Hollywood wilderness, though, Lohan made quite a spectacular comeback in 2022's Netflix Christmas rom-com, Falling for Christmas, which, despite receiving mixed reviews, had one of the biggest opening weekends of any Netflix original released that year. Lohan followed this up with a well-received cameo in 2024's Mean Girls musical adaptation, 2 more Netflix rom-coms in Irish Wish and Our Little Secret, which both posted gangbusters numbers too, and most recently, the long-awaited sequel, Freakier Friday. Between the popularity of Lohan's recent streaming films and the strong box office performance of Freakier Friday, it's clear beyond any doubt that she's fully completed her career resurrection, and yeah, you love to see it. Another early 2000s favorite is making a return. It's Orlando Bloom. There's no denying that Orlando Bloom had a meteoric rise to stardom in the early 2000s, per his roles in Black Hawk Down and The Lord of the Rings and Pirates of the Caribbean franchises. Bloom was expected to become a breakout star beyond those projects, and yeah, it never really happened, being hit with the Orlando Bland label by critic Mark Kermode, which is just way too fun to say aloud for it not to have stuck with him a bit after that third Pirates movie ended its box office run. Outside of his bread-and-butter franchises, he's been mostly stuck in low-profile dramas and, more recently, undemanding genre thrillers. However, Bloom did himself a huge solid by recently co-starring in the riotous ensemble comedy Deep Cover, where he plays a very serious method actor, TM, who puts his acting chops to use while working undercover for the police. The result is proof perfect that Bloom should do more comedy. He's absolutely hysterical here, and the result is quite arguably the best performance he's ever given, which is not to say given, he was also goddamn Legolas. While Bloom's next film isn't a comedy, it will at least pair him with one of cinema's great auteurs when he stars in Werner Herzog's new drama, Bucking Fastered. That's Bucking Fastered, YouTube. Don't come for us like this. Don't hear if this gets demonetized. I swear to God, it wasn't a swear. It wasn't a swear. Bucking Fastered is fine to say on camera. Goddamn. There's no covering this rock. It's Dwayne Johnson. There's no denying that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has had one hell of a successful transition from wrestling superstar to bona fide Hollywood behemoth, at least in terms of box office receipts. Yet Johnson's almost 25-year acting career has afforded him few opportunities to flex his dramatic muscles, and in recent years in particular, he's appeared in a glut of unremarkable blockbuster projects. Most of all, Red Notice, Black Adam, and also Red One. But Red One or no Red One, Johnson did himself a huge solid with his most recent project, Benny Safdie's biopic of former MMA fighter Mark Kerr, titled The Smashing Machine. While it might not seem like a massive stretch to have Johnson portray a combat sports fighter, The Smashing Machine asks him to go to some deeply dark places as a performer, far darker, in fact, than many likely believed he was actually capable of. But Johnson acquitted himself extremely well here with a complex portrait of a tragic, fascinating figure who helped pioneer what is now a global megasport. Johnson's buzzed-about turn will probably miss out on an Oscar nomination, but it's still a huge feather in his cap to defy the naysayers and prove what he can deliver when a project actually asks him to do more. She terrified us all in weapons. It's Amy Madigan. Amy Madigan is one of the most respected actresses of her generation, scoring a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nom in 1986 for her performance in Twice in a Lifetime, and having a slew of notable roles to her name throughout the 1980s in the likes of Love Child, Love Letters, Alamo Bay, Nowhere to Hide, Uncle Buck, and Field of Dreams. And Also Streets of Fire, which is a banger and also features a scene where Willem Dafoe in full weird biker gear has a sledgehammer duel with the hero. Go watch it. It's an action movie rock opera directed by Walter. This is a great opportunity for me to insert Streets of Fire propaganda. I'm so happy. But no, yeah, back to Madigan, back on topic. As remains a frustratingly commonplace occurrence in Hollywood, she struggled to win meaningful roles as she entered middle age in the 1990s, and though she kept busy working, it was mostly in smaller supporting roles that typically went unnoticed. But that finally changed this year when Madigan portrayed Gladys, the witchy antagonist of Zach Cregger's acclaimed horror film, Weapons, a film that I deeply, deeply loved. Madigan's performance received near universal acclaim, many even considering the prospect that Madigan could receive a second Oscar nom for her work in the film. Whether that happens or not, Madigan won herself a whole new generation of fans with her instantly iconic portrayal of Gladys, and it wouldn't be remotely surprising if she now became majorly in demand in the horror genre as a direct result. Next up, he's the goddamn Mr. Terrific. It's Edie Guthegi. In the case of Edie Guthegi, we're talking about a very specific type of comeback, because while he's kept himself plenty busy over the years and starred in a number of well-received projects, until recently he was probably best remembered for appearing in 2011's X-Men First Class. More specifically, he was remembered for being so thoroughly wasted in that movie, because despite his hero Darwin being introduced as a compelling new mutant who is effectively invulnerable, he was unceremoniously killed off halfway through the movie. Many lamented how both the character and Guthegi's performance were largely squandered, but almost 15 years later, the actor finally got another shot at a superhero movie in James Gunn's revitalizing and just great vibes all around reboot of Superman. Guthegi played the scene-stealing Mr. Terrific, whose hilariously immodest, no-nonsense approach to heroism provides excellent contrast with the earnestness of the Man of Steel himself, of course played by David Corenswet. Guthegi himself commented that this role felt like redemption for how things went down with X-Men First Class, and considering that we're likely going to be seeing plenty of Mr. Terrific in the DC universe from this point on, that's tough to argue with. From a galaxy far, far away to one much closer to home, it's Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill has had one hell of a fascinatingly unpredictable career. For though Star Wars made him a global icon and a household name in the 1970s, this ultimately didn't make him a bona fide bankable movie star in his own right outside of that franchise. Hamill instead pivoted and became one of the most prolific and successful voice actors in Hollywood, lending his distinctive vocal tenor to literally hundreds of projects over the last 30 years, most prominently as Batman's arch-nemesis the Joker in seminal animation and gaming projects Batman the Animated Series and Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, in terms of big screen, live-action performances, Hamill, of course, made a triumphant return to Star Wars in the recent sequel trilogy as Luke Skywalker, though once that wrapped up in 2019 with Episode 9, it seemed like Hamill was probably done with prominent roles in major movies. But no, not quite. After giving a brilliant performance in Mike Flanagan's horror TV show The Fall of the House of Usher, he reunited with that director for his first major movie project in 5 years, an adaptation of Stephen King's novella, The Life of Chuck, which is led by Tom Hiddleston. Hamill received rave reviews for his performance, and not one to be outdone, followed it up with another widely acclaimed turn in another King adaptation, portraying the villainous Major in this year's The Long Walk. By his own admission, Hamill was gearing up to retire from screen acting and do only voiceover work before being offered The Long Walk, which seems to have rejuvenated his creative juices, and thank God, because now he might get to have an amazing career twilight. Next up, it's Lily Rose Depp. Even though Lily Rose Depp is still very young at just 26 years old, there's no denying that her acting career took a major knock when she starred in Sam Levinson's critically reviled HBO series, The Idol. Though Depp gave a solidly committed performance as an embattled pop star, she was the sole bright spot in a pretentious and self-indulgent misfire of a show, which really became the stuff of ire online. There was much speculation about the impact the show's failure would have on Depp's career, and in the eyes of some, it only bolstered the notion that she was yet another Nepo baby, sucking up oxygen from more talented unknown performers who will never get their shot in Hollywood. But Depp rebounded at the start of this year with her mesmerizing performance as lead Ellen Hutter in Robert Eggers' Nosferatu. Now, many, and I include myself here, actually groaned when Depp was first announced to replace Eggers' original choice of Anya Taylor-Joy, but she ultimately gave an extremely visceral turn, both emotionally and physically, which proved her to be a serious actress with some major awards potential in the future. And yeah, she is by far the clear standout of that movie. She is just amazing. The physicality on display, everything, it just goes so hard. On the way, it's Jai Courtney. Jai Courtney is an actor who certainly suffered from his management trying so desperately to make him the next big thing, shoving him into franchises like Die Hard and Terminator, despite him being so fundamentally wrong for those roles. Like, bro was born to play freaky little guys, like, truly. Courtney did at least prove himself perfectly cast as the despicable Captain Boomerang in both Suicide Squad films, but since the release of James Gunn's second film in 2021, and my god, it's been that long, he's tended towards more low-profile parts, and by his own admission, scaled back his work to focus on raising his young daughter, which is, it's very understandable. But Courtney came back with a vengeance this year in Sean Byrne's ferociously entertaining serial killer film, Dangerous Animals. Courtney portrays antagonist Tucker with such sadistic glee, and yet also with a strange sprinkle of Aussie charm, that it confirms just how thoroughly miscast he's been by Hollywood at large in the past. Here, playing a psychopath with a penchant for feeding tourists to sharks, he seems completely in his element, and the result is by far the best performance of his career. One of our greatest living actors returns from retirement. It's Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is popularly regarded as one of our greatest ever living actors, and so there was enormous sorrow when the three-time Oscar winner announced that 2017's Phantom Thread would be his final film before retirement. It was really uncommon for an in-demand actor of Day-Lewis's stature with no apparent health issues to stop acting at the mere age of 60, but he sure seemed like he meant it. Then the world was shocked when Day-Lewis announced that he was coming out of retirement after 8 years away from the screen to star in Anemone, a new drama directed by his son Ronan Day-Lewis and co-written by the father and son pair. Now, in fairness, Daniel Day-Lewis could have staged a comeback to read the phone book and people would be enraptured. And while Anemone is hardly a great film, the sharpness of Day-Lewis's acting ability is as clear as it's ever been from first frame to last. To simply have another of his performances to savor is enough, and better yet, he recently stated that he regretted ever announcing his retirement and hopes to act again in the future, which is super exciting. Next on the list, it's your favorite Futurama guest star and mine, Lucy Liu. Lucy Liu has had quite the prolific acting career with more than 100 projects to her name between movie roles, TV parts, and voiceovers. Around the 2010s, Liu was best known for portraying Joan Watson on the Sherlock Holmes TV show Elementary, but since the show concluded in 2019, she's had few substantial live-action roles, mostly deferring instead to voice parts in animated productions. However, Liu most recently appeared in Steven Soderbergh's new psychological horror film Presence, portraying a wife and mother whose house appears to be haunted by a ghost. Liu's performance creeps up on you because while at first she seems to be playing a pretty typical archetype, there's clearly more percolating underneath the surface, culminating in a final reveal which gives Liu the floor to perform perhaps the most heartbreaking scene of her entire career. Since then, Lou has additionally received strong reviews for her lead role in the new drama Rosemead, and will next appear in The Devil Wears Prada 2. After a fallow period for live-action roles, she's clearly getting out in front of the camera, and that's great to see. Next up, Guy Pearce. Guy Pearce is one of those terrific actors whose versatile talents aren't exploited nearly enough, especially in recent years when he's found himself appearing in a glut of schlocky genre films. So what a relief it was for Pearce to play a beefy supporting role in Brady Corbett's stunning epic drama, The Brutalist. Effectively portraying the film's villain, cagey industrialist Harrison Lee Van Buren, Pearce gives a sinewy performance that marks a career best achievement, enough that it finally earned him a well-earned Best Supporting Actor Oscar nom. It served as a blinding reminder of the gravitas and presence Pearce can bring to a great character, and so it's perhaps a little surprise that Pearce has since shot roles in new movies from Ridley Scott, The Dog Stars, and Danny Boyle, Inc., with Priscilla, Queen of the Desert 2 also set to start filming soon. Coming up, an 80s icon, Jennifer Grey. Jennifer Grey rose to prominence in the 1980s through her appearances in popular films such as Red Dawn, not good, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, a masterpiece, and of course, Dirty Dancing, which is iconic beyond all measure. It seemed like Grey was set to become Hollywood's next it girl, but her decision to have two extremely transformative rhinoplasty procedures in the early 90s, which severely changed the look of her face enough that even close friends didn't recognize her, pretty much tanked her career momentum overnight. Grey still continued to work in an array of films and TV shows, but the juicier parts generally eluded her. But last year, Grey unexpectedly had a supporting role in Jesse Eisenberg's Oscar-winning directorial debut, A Real Pain. Grey played Marcia, a member of the Central Tour group who has a number of memorable interactions with Eisenberg and Kieran Culkin's central characters. And soon enough, there were numerous Reddit threads of audience members being shocked to discover that the character was played by the Dirty Dancing star in question, having not recognized her at all. Now, if there's any justice in the world, her fine work here will open more doors for Grey to star in other high-profile films in the future, beyond the already in development Dirty Dancing 2, which, oh boy, those are some big shoes to fill. Next up, it's Marlon Wayans. Though Marlon Wayans is best known for his comedic work in franchises such as Scary Movie and A Haunted House, he's also sporadically proven himself to be an extremely skilled dramatic performer, most prominently in Requiem for a Dream and Sofia Coppola's 2020 drama On the Rocks. Wayans' career is, however, dominated by rather lowbrow comedies which, while undeniably having their fans, have also felt like an abject waste of his clear talent. So following in the footsteps of other comedic performers who've lent their intensity to the horror genre, Wayans recently played the antagonist in the sports-themed horror film Him, which was also produced by Jordan Peele. Though the film as a whole received wildly mixed reviews from critics and audiences, Wayans' performance as a malevolent star football player was widely praised as the easy highlight. Once again, it showed us another side of Wayans' acting range, confirming his ability to be a terrifying, imposing force despite his funny man reputation. Wayans is next set to star in what will easily be his most high-profile comedy project in decades, reprising his much-loved role of Shorty in the highly anticipated Scary Movie 6, which is sure to invoke all kinds of anxiety in millennials, hoping that it will recapture that sense of good vibes that the originals had. Coming up, Téa Leoni. Téa Leoni is well known for her performances in films such as Bad Boys, Deep Impact, Jurassic Park 3, and Fun with Dick and Jane, as well as leading the hit political drama series Madam Secretary. But after the show ended in 2019, Leoni wasn't seen again in any screen project until this past year, when she appeared as one of the primary villains in A24's wild horror comedy Death of a Unicorn. Leoni is an absolute hoot here as Belinda Leopold, who is a thoroughly obnoxious and privileged wife of Pharma CEO Odell Leopold, played by Richard E. Grant. She very clearly understood the assignment and hams it the hell up for the cheap seats as this deeply unpleasant woman who eventually gets her suitably violent end courtesy of one very, very pissed off unicorn. It's a welcome reminder of what we were missing while she wasn't gracing screens, and though she's currently appearing in Only Murders in the Building, hopefully we'll also see her in another major movie project sooner rather than later. Next up, Renee Zellweger. After Renee Zellweger won a Best Actress Oscar in 2020 for her performance in the Judy Garland biopic, Judy, she more or less vanished from Hollywood for the better part of about 5 years. Save for a divisively received performance in the 2022 miniseries The Thing About Pam, Zellweger didn't appear in anything between 2019 and 2025, recently revealing that she suffered from career burnout and decided to pursue other interests away from acting. But earlier this year, Zellweger returned to what is unquestionably the most iconic role of her entire career, Bridget Jones in the rom-com series' 4th movie, Mad About the Boy. Though there was much skepticism about Bridget Jones getting another go-around, especially considering the polarizing response to the source novel, the sequel was widely acclaimed by critics as one of the series' best, with Zellweger delivering another charming performance as the beloved title character. Since then, Zellweger has appeared in the most recent series of Only Murders in the Building, and goddamn I really need to watch this show, and is next gearing up to shoot a new thriller, Phantom Son, with Harry Potter director David Yates. On the way, the late, great Julian McMahon. Julian McMahon came to prominence in the early 2000s through his noteworthy performance in hit TV shows Charmed and Nip Tuck, as well as portraying Dr. Doom in Fox's 2 live-action Fantastic Four movies from 2005 and 2007, respectively. In the years following the end of his run as Doom and the Nip Tuck series finale, McMahon's screen profile dimmed considerably, until he recently won the lead villain role in his most high-profile film in almost 15 years, the kaleidoscopic Nicolas Cage thriller, The Surfer. Here, McMahon played Scally, a vicious surf guru with a vocal disdain for non-locals, with the actor giving an intense, charismatic performance that confirmed he hadn't lost a step in the 2 decades since his career heyday. It was a welcome reminder of McMahon's acting presence and may well have opened more Hollywood doors for the actor, if not for the extremely tragic news that he passed away from cancer back in July, just 2 months after The Surfer was released. And yeah, this is seriously gutting stuff. As a final acting role though, it's an arguable career best and unarguable illustration of McMahon's vastly underrated versatility. An 80s icon enters a new era, Pamela Anderson. At the peak of her fame, Baywatch star Pamela Anderson was lauded less for her acting ability than her sex appeal, and performances in a slew of dud projects, most of all Barbed Wire, didn't exactly suggest she had the potential for a wider film career. By the 2010s, Anderson was pretty much boxed out of theatrically released films, edging into increasingly low-rent projects and even reality TV. Though she re-entered the spotlight with the 2022 biographical drama series Pam and Tommy, she had no involvement with it and thoroughly objected to its production, which, yeah, I can see why. Yet Anderson was at least able to take control of the narrative and stage one hell of a comeback for herself. It all began when she played Roxy Hart in a 2022 Broadway production of Chicago, which was well received by critics before making an illustrious cinema return last year with Gia Coppola's drama The Last Showgirl, which she is phenomenal in. And yeah, this was a note-perfect vehicle for Anderson, fully accentuated by her own experiences as a middle-aged woman in the entertainment industry, leading to a most unexpected of things, a Best Actress nom at the Golden Globes and the Screen Actors Guild Awards. It didn't stop there either. Anderson followed it up with a riotously funny performance alongside Liam Neeson in the recent reboot of The Naked Gun, a pairing that turned out to be far more perfect than anyone could have ever predicted. The best thing about this is that it doesn't appear to be a flash-in-the-pan career revival, as Anderson is already lined up to star in films directed by acclaimed filmmakers such as Sally Potter, Cornel Lundrusko, and even Michael Cera. Last up, it's Rolf Saxon. Character actor Rolf Saxon is best known for his brief but memorable role as CIA analyst William Dunlow in the original Mission Impossible, and in the 3 decades since, he's appeared in just a handful of movies, most notably Tomorrow Never Dies, Saving Private Ryan, and Entrapment, each within just a few years of Mission Impossible's release. But that all changed when Saxon was invited to reprise the role of Dunlow in the 8th and apparently final Mission Impossible, titled The Final Reckoning. The call was so unexpected that Saxon thought it was a joke at first, and has clearly relished the opportunity to return to a part he quite understandably assumed would be just a one and done. Now, whether this leads to a wider career resurgence for Saxon in Hollywood or not, there's no denying he came back to Mission Impossible 3 decades on and absolutely nailed it. Such a cool reunion, and yeah, here's hoping more things come.